Hey y'all, it's Kayla J here. So today is the 1 year anniversary from when God told me to give the person who now has my car. A little backstory. So in February of 2019, I was praying about my next move. I was like, okay, God, I know you want me to move after I graduate, but where do you want me to go? And so he told me where he wanted me to go, yada, 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 but he also said, I want you to give away your car. It's like, what? And then I was like, to who? And then he, of course, gave me the name. It was a really good friend of mine. And I was just kind of like, God, I need time to process. So God is so gracious and he's so patient. And so he gave me time to process it. I knew what my decision would be, but he gave me time to process it. And so, when I graduated in December of 2019, I gave my car away in January before I left to come to my next location. It was definitely a crazy faith, bold move. No one understood. No one, they thought I was crazy. And I kind of felt like when he first told me, I felt like how selfish of me, to this car that I didn't buy, my parents bought it for me, to try to give this car away. And God was just like, if you trust me, I will work on your parents. And so I said, okay, God. And so literally, you all, I had a press conference with my family. I told them, okay, I'm moving here and I need you guys to be on board with it. And then when everybody else got off the call, when my sister and brother got off the call, I asked my parents to stay on, and I was like, okay, another thing is God asked me to, he asked me to, give away my car. And they were just like, oh. And then my dad spoke first and he was like, the car's gonna be paid off in a few months. I'll transfer the title to your name so that way you can transfer it to her name and give it away. And I was floored. And my mom was like, if this is what God told you to do, then we support you 100%. And it was just so amazing. As a believer, you really need that support sometimes when you're really operating in crazy faith and you're operating in a realm that most people won't understand. And so I was so grateful for my parents. So fast forward, December 2nd, I told the girl, I know this is weird and we talk, but we don't talk that often. And so I was like, I know this is weird and we haven't talked in a few months, but God told me to give you my car maybe 9 months ago. I told her this in December and God told me February. And she was like, what? And she had literally been praying for a car, praying for these things. And she was just like, I can't afford that. And I was like, no, he told me to give it to you for free. I was freaking out. How am I going to give her this car for free? I won't have seed money for my next car. But that's what God told me. And so I gave her my car in January. But the crazy thing is, leading up to that, the devil was working so hard. So after I told her December 2nd, 2019, literally, you all, I got into my second accident. The first one, it was my fault. But I got into my second accident. And literally, you all, I was trying to pull into a parking space, a routine park. And I scraped this guy's car. I was just like, what in the world? And thank God nothing happened. It was more damage on my car than it was on his car. He was cussing me out. It was terrible. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to give the car away. I'm not going to do it. Because I didn't want to do it anyways. This was what God was telling me to do, but I didn't want to do it. And so I was like, I'm not going to give it away. And I heard God say, the devil doesn't want you to give this car away. Keep pushing forward. And so I was like, okay, whatever. The day I give her my car, which I think was January 2nd, my mom and I are coming back from Atlanta and we're both pretty sleepy, and she decides to drive. And so, because I was just so tired, and she was also tired, but she was less tired. And so we're driving, and literally, you all, I think she said she took her eye off the road for a second, and we end up on the shoulder, the side of the road. I remember the car being suspended sideways for maybe 5 seconds. I had stuff in my hand and it kind of, shifted. And literally after the 5 seconds, the car went back down to the ground, all four wheels, and we just popped a tire. But I was just so amazed, I was of course upset, but I was so amazed because like so much other stuff could have happened. There was a ditch, and if we would have went a couple feet ahead, there wouldn't have been a shoulder. We would have just went straight into the ditch. And God is just he's so sovereign, he's so good. And you know, I'm kind of frantic because I'm literally driving the car to go and present it to her, to go and to give it to her, and we have a pop tire now. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna give the car away. I'm just gonna drive it to my next location. But God whispered in my ear, and he was like, that's what the devil wants you to do. Continue on, give this car away. I called someone to come and fix the tire, and then we took it to the car shop. Literally, I had a plane to catch maybe a few hours later. So we got all that done. We were like, hey, change of plans, meet us at this car place because the tire, I didn't want to freak her out, but I was like, you know, something's wrong with the tire and we're just gonna get it fixed. And then eventually I told her when I was passing out the keys to her, and I was just like, God, the devil didn't want you to have this car. And I know he didn't want her to have the car because she just kept saying when I actually told her I was going to give her the car in December, she kept saying, or a couple weeks later after I told her, she kept saying, my family doesn't believe me. My family keeps saying like miracles like this don't happen. They just don't happen anymore. And I know like your faith, you all, can really give other people faith. And I know that me giving her that car was igniting the faith of her family, the faith of my family. And so I knew that's what I was supposed to do. So everything worked out. I gave her the car, and then I flew, of course, to my current location. And so being here for the first couple of days, I got Ubers and Lyfts, and then I was like, you know, I need to rent a car because I had to go and set up stuff for my classroom. And so I rented a car, and that was just amazing, getting around the city, getting to know the city. But then, of course, it's expensive, so I had to give the car away. And it was a struggle. Like, I was taking Ubers and Lyfts to and from work. Sometimes, you all, like literally depleting my savings. Everything I had, it was dwindling. Credit card bill was about to be maxed out. And sometimes I would go to work and like just waiting for my next payday. Sometimes I would go to work and I would have the money to get there because the Uber and Lyft, I don't know what happened, but when I was picking up my apartment and finding out where I was going to school or going to work, it ended up being 25 minutes away. And it's kind of because I had to pick my apartment first because I didn't have a job. Like I said, this in my other video, you'll find out that this move was in crazy faith. And I said, I'm moving, but I don't have a job yet. I don't know where I'm gonna live. And so I had to pick, of course, where I was gonna live. And so I ended up living 25 minutes away from my school. And so the Uber and Lyft cost like $20, $25 there and back. So that's $40 a day. And so literally my savings was being depleted, and I was just like, God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And sometimes I would get to school and someone would send me like a Cash App, literally $20, exactly $20. And I was just like, okay, God, he sees me. He sees me in this. Like, where is this car? And it was just truly a blessing how I got through those days. And then, of course, in March, the pandemic hit. And so I started working from home. So I really didn't need a car. And, of course, the pandemic is so unfortunate. But I'm not even going to call it a blessing. I don't even want to say that because so many people have died and lost loved ones. So I would hate to label this pandemic a blessing. But it proved to be advantageous for me, I want to say. And so I was working from home, so I didn't need to get Uber and Lyft. I just had to get it maybe every 2 weeks to go grocery shopping. And so it ended up, working out for me, but I still, I was like, I still need a car. And my dad came for my birthday in March, and my sister came, and she was like, you need to tell Daddy that you need a car. He needs to buy it this weekend because what are we gonna do? And so I was like, God, where the car at? My savings is gone. I'm getting to work on faith, I don't have enough. I just have enough to pay my bills, and that's not even enough. And so just praying and praying and praying, like, God, where you at? My dad was like, okay, when I come to see you for your birthday, we can go and look at cars. I was like, I would love to, but I know what God told me. And that's why it's important, y'all, to whatever God tells you, to write it down and to hold it deep and close to your heart, because what he tells you is word, and and you don't want to forget it. And so every time my dad would say, or my mom would say, we're just going to buy you a car, and I know that's privilege because a lot of people don't have that privilege. And so I do recognize that. And so I am grateful to God for that privilege of having parents who can just buy me a car. And so whenever they would say it, I was like, okay, I'm thinking about it. God, where you at? I'm about to say yes to them. So my dad came the weekend of my birthday, and he asked me the first time, and he said, do you want to go look at cars this weekend? I was like, no, Dad, I know what God told me. He said I would get a car and it would be completely free to me, no car note. Just as I gave my car, that's how I would receive it. And another thing with how I gave it, so when I gave my car, when God told me in February of 2019 to give her my car, he said, when you give it to her, make sure it has new tires, make sure that you don't give her a lemon, make sure that, the car is in good shape. And I was like, God, what you mean? Like, why do I have to change the oil and change the tires before I give it to her? He said, he just kept saying, make sure you do right by the car. And so remember that. And so my dad was like, yeah, you want to go look at cars? And I was like, no, I know what God told me. He said that this car would be free to me, and it wouldn't come from my family. And I told him no. This was in the beginning of the weekend, and I said, God, if he asks one more time, I'm saying yes. I know you have a plan, but right now this looks better for me. I can't continue to not have a car. And so he ended up not asking again. And I knew it was God that he didn't ask again, because if he asked again, I would have said yes, foregoing God's miracle. And so, like I said, the pandemic hit. I didn't really need a car. I was able to start a business without a car. I have another video entitled God Will Do More with Less. He did. I literally was able to start a business, no car. That's beyond the point. So getting through the pandemic, now it is May. And I'm on the phone with one of my friends. I talk to her all the time, and she just randomly brought up, a few days earlier, I was like, God, I really need a car because this summer I have training at my school, and I can't afford to do another month of Uber and Lyft back and forth. I was like, I need a car before July. You gotta come through. So I was on the phone with one of my friends, and she was like, hey, do you still not have a car? I was like, yeah, no, I still don't have a car. Just waiting for God to move. This was 3 days after I prayed to God. I said, I'm waiting for God to move. She was like, well, God put on my spirit to give you my car. So I was like, I'm in a sensitive place. Please don't play with me. Like, are you joking? And she was like, no, he told me in January when you told me that God wanted you to give your car away. He told me that I was supposed to give you my car. And I was like, oh my gosh. And another thing, y'all, you never know what your yes is tied to. God may be asking for you to say yes. And as soon as you say yes, that will open the door for somebody else. So be obedient to God, and don't hold up somebody else's blessing, even your blessing. And because the car that she gave me, y'all, 2015, my car was a 2011. Her car had 108,000 miles. My car had 115,000 miles. Like, I got better, than I had. And I would have driven my car all the way to my current location. Car probably would have broke down because I wasn't in God's will. A number of things, but be obedient when God asks you to do something. And so she was like, yeah, I really wasn't strong in my faith journey, so I wanted to make sure it was God. And, and it just wasn't the time, and I feel like I needed those months, and God humbled me, because when I had my car, I always tried to do God's will. Like, whoever needed a ride, I tried to do it. But I remember one time my really close friend, she always needed a ride. And I would always give her the ride, but I would be not hateful, but I would be not excited, not a cheerful giver like God asked us to be. And so I even, in those months of me struggling without a car, I called her and I apologized. I said, if I ever was rude to you about, you needing rides, please forgive me, because I now understand how it feels not to have a car. And she was like, what? You weren't rude, but it was my own conscience that I wasn't cheerful like I know I should have been. And so God really used those months to humble me. And yeah, y'all, I got the car literally in, I was supposed to get it in July. And so she was like, another thing, she was like, I got a push from God. Like, I need to buy my new car soon. And she was like, I don't know why God is giving me this push. I said, he's giving you this push because I need this car before July. Such a blessing, such a blessing. And then it even worked out where I didn't need the car in July. So she had more time to look for the perfect car for her. And I ended up getting the car in early August, just in time for me to go back to work. It was just so on time. It was just such God, And so that's my crazy faith car story, y'all. God told me to give away my car. I gave my car away not knowing that I would receive something else. I gave it away on faith, on crazy faith. A couple months later, literally 5 months later, I got the news that I would get a car. And so to fill in some gaps, I didn't need the car for June, July, and early August because I was visiting my family back home. And so I just drove their car. I didn't need my car here. And so that's why it was okay for me to get it in August. And so God was just so good through that entire experience. And I just really want to encourage you all that if God is asking you to give something away, he's not going to play you. And maybe it will take longer than you anticipate, but he's not going to play you. He's going to come through on his promise. And he has provided for me like I could not have imagined. Now that I have a car, no car payment, and if I would have stepped outside of his will, I would have had to pay a car payment every month. God is so good, y'all. So if he's asking you for something, whatever it is, no matter how big or small, give it to him. And I know that when I leave this current location, whenever God tells me to leave, of course, that if he asks me to give the car away, then going to my next location, I'll do it. It might be even longer waiting for a car. I don't know, but I'm going to do it because that's what God is asking me to do. And this obedience isn't easy, but it's so worth it. And I thank the Holy Spirit for always convicting me to have this obedience to God. So yeah, I really hope that this video blessed you. I pray that you too can operate in crazy faith and do something that doesn't make logical sense, but do it because God asked you to do it. And so comment, like, subscribe, please share this video, and match your faith with somebody else's faith. And whatever you're having crazy faith for, whatever God has told you to do it. Don't wait. Immediate obedience, but also God will be patient with you if you need some time, like me, to process. So thanks for y'all for watching the video. God bless. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Bye, y'all.